Hey everybody, I am back. I know it's pretty quick, but I just had to know what went on with the next season of My Hero Academia. So luckily it was like shorter than the others been, short number of episodes than the others been, and I guess it's the penultimate season before the actual last season. Like I said, I'd never seen this season before, so I stayed away until now. So it's all like really reaching this precipice at this point. Before I continue, please leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of season 7 of My Hero Academia. Follow me in the links in the description below, such as my YouTube channel, my Patreon, Twitter, Twitch, etc. So, crazy turn of events at the beginning of the season, where they kind of hinted at a couple of seasons ago, when the League of Villains ambushed the kids at the training in the woods, and President Mike thought like, oh, there had to be some kind of leak because there's no way they should have been able to know that we were secretly training these kids in a separate location. But it turns out there was a leak, and it was Naval Laser, whose parents, turns out, because he was acting kind of weird a season ago, leaving watching Midoriya, where he was trying to sleep one moment and then leaving him messages. Midoriya, come to conclusion that dude was probably crying out for help, but couldn't pick up on it right away. Turns out that Naval Laser, sorry, I'm blank on his actual name. He comes from a very affluent family, and they're good people. But when their son was born, he was quirkless, which they didn't want him to feel left out. So they reached out, to anybody who might know a way to bestow quirks, and they end up coming across All For One, who provided Naval Laser his ability in exchange, getting him into UA and spying on the inside. And unlike characters like Lady Nagant, who he bestowed like a trap inside of her, he didn't have to do that with Naval Laser or his family. Basically, he just seeded a threat and fear into them, which is powerful than anything else, where anybody who disobeyed, he slaughtered immediately. He had all these quirks, one of them being able to tell if they're being deceitful at all. So once they're caught by the Invisible Girl and Deku, who Naval Laser tried to defend his family, and Invisible Girl had like a bonus power where she can refract light. So we actually get to see what she looked like for the first time for 7 seasons. We don't know what her actual image looks like, but she has these like long curly hairs and stuff like that. We get at least like a bubble like silhouette of her face, or translucent, let's just say. But everybody's shocked and just beside themselves to think that one of their own classmates were feeding the enemy intel this whole entire time. And of course, Naval Laser is completely ashamed of himself. He only did it for his parents, and clearly he's tearful. And his classmates, knowing that he's obviously sorry, they willing to extend a hand out and not turn their back on him. And we see Aizawa, who's been monitoring the whole entire discussion via a video call while he's still in the hospital. And since he's his homeroom teacher, it's down to his decision. So he and the others set up a plan where, because they could not figure out where or how to, they've been playing defensive this whole entire time because they don't know where Alpha One will be, when or where, or he is. But now they got a critical piece on the board where they can easily draw him out. So All Might comes up with a plan where they divide and conquer. It was an effective battle strategy in military history, where we got Dabi and Toga, Spinner, all of them in conjunction with each other. It wouldn't have been it'll be a losing battle, especially on top of Shigaraki, who's now kind of like a combination of his essence and Alpha One's essence. So they figure, okay, we know that Toya, that was, I couldn't remember his real name in the last review, is Toya Badabi, knowing that he can easily lay waste to an entire field, crippling their forces, and knowing that Toga is a wild card, can easily by drinking somebody's blood, she can easily backstab somebody and completely run their front lines or something like that. I was like, okay, we need to separate these guys, keep them as far apart as possible, and then tailor-made our forces that can properly counteract a particular enemy, which is pretty smart. Thanks to crap, I forgot the guy with the brainwashing ability. He comes back in and copies the Naval Laser and his family's voice, or at least brainwashes them, so that way they can appear to be honest. So when Alpha One calls them, because that's how he keep in contact with them, he is none the wiser because they ain't lying, because they don't know they're lying. So he tricks they all trick Alpha One to appearing along with a lot of his forces in a spot where Deku is just standing there talking with Naval Laser, playing along like it's a complete trap, but it's a trap set for the villains, where once they set foot there, All Might triggers a mechanism that encompass a particular villain and a group of underlings in separate little cages. And thanks to that copycat guy who's kind of like a weirdo, trying to, thinking his class is so better than everybody else. I forgot his name. I just call him the copycat kid. So he copies, like at least a few days ago. I almost forgot about the whole situation, how it started. Star and Stripe, who I thought was another mentor of All Might, but it's the other way around. All Might once he's at his prime, went abroad to America, where he ended up saving the life of of this young girl and her family. So she became like a psychic to him for America. Then because she has a quirk ability where she can just by naming a thing or a person, she can pretty much manipulate the reality around that person. So like when because she comes with some, because she works at the American Air Force, she rides on top of one of the fighter jets with her crew. She manipulates the air so that way she can just control it and subtracts the oxygen in around Shigaraki, who is trying to intercept them, because All For One knew that Japan was going to try to send some outside help from other countries, but only the American forces, at least Star and Stripe and her team, show up despite most other countries' top heroes want to join in the fight too, but are forbidden by their respective countrymen's leaders. But the president kind of sound like Nixon. Well, I'll get to him in a second. Star and Stripe, who I thought was going to be like a major deal throughout this entire season, because we get to see like some other countries outside of Japan joining on this fight. I was like, oh, this is going to be kind of dope. And they don't do that, crazy thing where in Japan, or at least a lot of anime, when they depict, somebody from America, they do this whole thing where they make their nose longer. Don't know why they do that. I don't know what is like the stereotype with Americans with their noses or something. I don't get it. But I'm glad they don't do that. At least I'm pretty sure they stopped long ago. I think the only anime character in recent memory that actually has like a long nose in current anime will be Usopp from One Piece. But even then, I don't even know if he's considered an American. It's just like a character with like a long nose. Anyway, so Star and Stripe has an ability to manipulate a reality of whatever thing or person that she names, but she only can do it, two simultaneously. If she has to do another one has to be let go. Which she used the bulk of that power to make her body as strong as possible, because she, modeled herself after All Might. She tries her best. This is amazing kind of fight to, take on Shigaraki. But, with the whole Green Goblin situation, threatening one of her men, she save herself or her man. She decides not to go in for the kill. So Shigaraki, All For One, managed to touch her to steal her quirk. That's what he kind of anticipate, because he wants Star and Stripe's power, because that is, crazy powerful. Probably second only to maybe One For All. But in the last ditch effort to really give All Might and his team time that they desperately need in order to really like turn the tides, she implemented her power to do one last task. And as soon as he absorbed the power, the effect kicked in, and her power starts to rip apart all the powers that was inside Shigaraki, and you see the essence is just ripping it all, including hers. So he barely has anything left. It's very minuscule. So he had to borrow wings from Nomu just to get the heck out of there. But she ended up sacrificing herself in the process, which I kind of bummed out because, like, man, you made kind of like a big show at the end of last season about Star and Stripe. This like is a big heavy hitter from America to come, lend a hand into this massive battle. This kind of sucks, in my opinion. But her crew, who stuck around in Japan to lend enough aid as they can while they're there, as like last wishes for their teammate, they managed to collect data on the battle to give to All Might and any scientists there to study, which will come to realize, okay, thanks to Star and Stripe ripping up him from the inside out, bought us like a week's time. So that way they spend a week preparing. So that's when the copycat pretty much copied Shanagiri, the teleporting smoke guy, copied his ability so that way he can learn how to wield it, effectively. So he warps in all the heroes and Class 1A, at least what's left of the pro heroes in Class 1A, and pushes all these cages in these separate warp gates. So they're pretty much scattered across Japan in like secluded areas, so that way they can get in some good fights to keep everybody else safe, the main populace safe. The Bakugo, Best Genius, this Edge Shot, Miracle, and it's supposed to be Deku in this, coffin in the sky going up against Shigaraki. But Toga snatched him up in one of the gates where Uraka and Froppy, Gang Orca and his crew are dealing with supposedly Toga and a couple of other villains. But Toga wanted to proclaim her love to Deku, which he's kind of like, don't know what to do with this. But it kind of throws everything, their game plan off a little bit. Now, Deku has to use his abilities to get to the coffin in the sky as quickly as he can, because unfortunately, Copycat, along with Eraserhead and this other hero who was the mentor to Ingenium, with kind of aquatic abilities, trying to keep their eyes, still sorry, it's just like gnats all over the place. Trying to keep their eyes still watered so they don't have to blink, because they're neutralizing Shigaraki's power, so that way he can't use his base power decay, because otherwise it will just destroy almost everything. Because of what's that, crazy tech girl, she been planning this, because she wasn't, you think like, oh, whatever happened to her and all these other people. No, the support heroes has been building all these little mechanisms in their aid into this fight. So they built this pretty much coffin so that way Shigaraki is up in the sky. He can't affect anything. His decay powers, you know, can't be widespread if he's separated in the sky from everything else. So then we got you know Endeavor's sidekicks along with Shoto and Ingenium dealing with Dabi, and one one Nomu with spikes, and Endeavor's chosen three chosen sidekicks all have kind of like a flame resistant abilities, was best suited to deal with somebody like Dabi, while Endeavor yeah, Earjack girl uh uh I keep on calling him Tsukuyomi, but it's not his name. It's Tosiomi or something like that. With Dark Shadow and Hawks are dealing with All For One, considering that that All For One needs to be able to touch somebody. They have long range capabilities, and Endeavor's fire prevents anybody really physically touching him. So they're best suited to deal with All For One, who needs to physically touch a hero in order to take their ability. And they have to dismantle his headgear because that's for keeping him kind of sustained, like a mobile kind of a respirator. But everybody else is dealing with like Gigantomachia, making sure nobody else, well, not everybody else. We got Acid Girl Pinky and crap, not Tetsu with the metal, but the Red Riot. That was Red Riot is and a bunch of others are protecting the location where Gigantomachia is being kept, so that way All For One won't throw like a Hail Mary with this character, because last time he caused too much devastation that put people in like a kind of like a big giant refugee camp because of it. Then we got Spinner, who got an extra power or boost in power from All For One, where it's pretty much turned into Killer Croc, pretty much, and leading these anthropomorphic citizens who's being led in like a big mob, trying to break into the hospital where they keep in Koronigiri, because a lot of them are feeling sick of being judged by the way they look, their animal appearance, and it's caused this big kind of riot where the what's left of the police, there's not many of them to quell this type of this riot. Then we got like Tentacool and Anima dealing with this, along with President Mike trying to deal with this. And we get to learn a little bit about Tentacool and his backstory, where he suffered a lot of prejudice because of the way he looked, which is kind of something that we can all learn from today's day and age, where we're not sitting there, not saying like people being racist towards you or people who looks like you is it obviously is not all right and is horrendous, but we don't want to also make ourselves like a victim about it, where he knows that there's a right way to handle prejudice like that. It isn't through violence and seeking revenge or anything like that. You take all the good moments and you hold on to that. And it's an awesome scene. And it's like, man, it's like we don't, like I mentioned before, My Hero has done a great job to highlight almost all the characters in this show that isn't just Deku or Bakugo or anything like that, like most anime would typically do. Like, we see with like, Naruto with Sasuke, or Naruto, or with Dragon Ball with Goku or Vegeta. Everybody gets time to shine. And we see Tentacle just, you know, uh, bring to light that, look, I suffer like you suffered, but I'm not going to hurt others thinking that's going to solve everything. Because if you continue this path, it's your future children going to suffer, because what's going to stop them from trying to get revenge on your children? It's going to be a dangerous cycle that nothing's going to get solved. While all that's going on, uh, uh, we also get a little bit with Anima's little backstory. We see about his mom, and that she was saved by his dad back in the day, and they fell in love and all this other stuff. Dude probably had some kind of furry fetish. Let's be honest. But in any case, it's like crazy how they very skillfully in the writing, how they put in things like racial injustice, and that not like, man, this is a good example of not being overhanded with the message. Most movies or show the past few years or handful of years have been browbeating people very finger waggy about it. It was like, racism is bad and you should be ashamed of yourself and do better, Senator, kind of attitude, where you can highlight things like prejudice or classism and everything like that, but don't have to be like a whole you gotta keep it vague enough to where it doesn't, nothing, there's no like a easy solve or telling you how you should think. It's leaving enough of an interpretation where you pretty much got it. And it isn't like, taking this moment. It's seated here and there, when depending on who the focus is. But they don't like make it the bulk of the show and kind of take over. This is how you do it, people. Anyway, President Mike, despite his efforts, did technically stop Spinner, but not before he managed to get Konagiri out so he can escape, and he starts warping Toga, who, still had like a spare blood twice as a vial of twice as blood ingested. So now she took not only his appearance but his abilities, and thanks to Konagiri, warped a massive flood of twice impersonators or duplicates to swarm various battlefields. Now, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but then, like I said, the creator of My Hero Academia is a huge Star Wars fan, and of course, like Star Wars, somebody has to lose limbs, and there's a lot of people losing limbs here. Endeavor loses his arm trying to fight against All For One, and despite his efforts to nuke this sucker, he somehow got a hold, or not somehow, thanks to that scientist who pretty much like still had like a vial of those like neutralizing bullets, made some kind of formula where it injected. At some point, he gave it to All For One so he can utilize it. So just if in case of emergencies, he can use it to kind of, because he's probably expecting to use it for a serious moment with Deku or somebody with One For All. But now, thanks to Endeavor and the other Class 1A chipping away at him, he's like, okay, I'm going to have to use this now. So he ended up rewinding his body back to his 40 age level. But every time he, overextends himself or tries to, keep himself from getting seriously hurt, forces the rewinding ability to, get him to even younger. But that group is pretty much devastated. Earphone Jack girl loses one of her ears, and despite thanks to the brainwashing kid who took over Gigantomachia, utilizing off one's voice, in combination of Hawks and Dark Shadow and the other students from different schools, like the guy with the wind powers, they all come in and come together to try to beat this dude down, but he ended up keep rewinding his body in order to kind of overextend himself to stop it. He steals Hawks's quirk, knocks everybody down, and takes off. So let's go to where Best Jeanist and the others are. They doing all they can to beat this dude, and because he doesn't have access to his main quirk, they alter his body so that way he can pretty much adapt to physical stress or whatever. So keeping with the hand theme, it's like his body just morphs into just rows of fingers and stuff. So he pretty much knocking people back, and there's like a swarm of like a tentacle fingers, and Bakugo doing everything he can is probably the first time in a long time where I actually love Bakugo in this, and utilizing it, a couple of ultimate moves. He was the only one that kind of finally pushed Shigaraki to his limit, but it's at the cost of his life. It pretty much killed him. But Edgeshot and Best Jeanist utilizing their skills to trying to sew him up and pump his heart just to revive him, and it was like complete shock, like, oh my god. And the look on Eraserhead's face was like, just to watch your own student just die in combat is just not something that even he was really prepared for. And but then here comes the trio of heroes, Sun Eater and Lanillion. They come in, and despite their best efforts, because they did some serious damage, but then he kind of morphed into a second form to be more defensive. But then before he tried to land a significant blow, Lanillion tries to stall him even longer with his weird little antics, where he pops up out of the ground with his butt facing Shigaraki, like, what? But that's what stalling him. It caused him to hesitate just long enough so Deku finally arrives and knocks him down. Okay, now we're gonna shift over really quick to where Shoto is, and he was the first one that actually got seemingly a win thanks to him training to utilize his half cold, half hot abilities simultaneously rather than one at a time, or us say alternating. Dabi, because since he was young, he watched closely of his father and learned how to do his moves, but better, because his fires burn hotter than his own father. So he pretty much watched how his brother wielded this best move and pretty much repeated it in order to survive. But then he decides he needs to, because Nagiri showed up, he warps Dabi in to be closer to his father because he wants to just, annihilate his father. So now he's become pretty much like a living bomb. So Endeavor forces Dabi to chase him, trying to get as far away from a populated area as much as possible. And all of this is being broadcasted on the news thanks to the business support group, these people with the camera phones, and the news choppers monitoring this whole situation, feeding this to the people not only in Japan but around the world. Because the president, despite the wrangler of Star and Stripes, saying that we need to do something, we can't let this monster get his feelers, beyond Japan. We need to nip this in the bud and help them out over there. And the president's like, we're already preparing to bend the knee to Awful One. Other countries, already preparing for that kind of inevitability. And it's like, dude, are you a coward or something? Like, what the heck? And it's like I'm doing this to prevent any further loss of life. We'll figure something out later, but right now this doesn't look good, and we can't take this head on because there'll be too many loss of life. I'm trying to lose the battle now and win the war later. But the guy is like, there won't be any later because this guy's gonna have a boot on our necks. We need to take the fight now. But the president ain't giving the okay. And other countries, despite their number one heroes of their respective countries saying that they want to join in on the fight, they tend like, no, we need to protect our borders just in case this spills over. We need to be able to defend ourselves, and you losing your life over there is not going to help matters. So aside from the straggler U.S. Air Force people that is already over there, there ain't gonna be any other outside help, which Awful One kind of counted on if he knew he caused enough devastation and enough fear that will prevent any type of outside interference coming in to aid Japan, which is kind of risky to assume, considering that if all the countries come into agreement, it's like saying like at least our not only our main guy, or at least our second main hero over there, with a handful of other pro heroes of respective countries and some military forces, all each one coming like, oh, we're sending like maybe not our best fighter, but our second best fighter and a group of other pro heroes willing to lend aid, could at least tip the battles in their favor or something or other. This is the because you're stronger together, but whatever. But anyway, so while Endeavor is trying to contain as much as it can the potential blast that Davi's planning on using, because he's pretty much like snapped at this point. But then all of a sudden, his wife and two children who have ice abilities, trying to contain like the heat and the potential blast radius, and him telling them to go. But then eventually, thanks to Ingenium in combination with Shoto going at full speed and getting there as quickly as they possibly can, uh, he managed to use his, ice ability to completely neutralize Dabi. And honestly, this got me teared up where, uh, right when Shoto's about to pass out, you know, uh, uh, Endeavor comes over and Quill, his son, and it starts just apologizing to each member of his family for his misdeeds towards each and every one of them. And it's like well acted. It's a well acted moment, and like got me choked up. I was like, man, just like Ray, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what like I put you through. Like I'm sorry. Like I forgot the daughter's name. I'm sorry that you had to shoulder the burden of keeping this family together. It's like he knows exactly each merit that he's apologizing, and his error of his ways towards each and every one of them. Like he knows, and it's just like a come to Jesus. I won't say he's already had his come to Jesus moment, but it's like finally he can have his whole family together to where he can actually give a true apology, like a heartfelt apology. But then because of the devastation with Gigantomachus got taken down too, because despite the brainwashing Quirk user's efforts, he managed to trick him to following a task that he wants. He can't manipulate somebody's heart, and Gigantomachus feels betrayed by All For One because he feels abandoned. So he kind of turns against him, but All For One ends up, I think, killing him and neutralizing Mount Lady. Like everybody's pretty much like, laid out, while All For One flies to try to find Shigaraki, because Shonagiri is pretty much like having like a his memory of his older his former self is kind of awakening, so that it won't be kind of a useful thing. I imagine in the true final season, this 8th season, which I imagine is coming out by the end of this year, it's not really confirmed, but that's what people suspect. Imagine he will come, his mind will come clear, and him, Present Mike, and who's warped into the situation with Eraserhead, they'll have, now that those three are together, I'm pretty sure he will, come to his senses at this point. I imagine that's going to be the situation. Toga and Froppy and Uraka are together, and at this moment where Uraka has heartfelt moment with Toga, despite Toga stabbed her in the stomach, she's like, look, I'm sorry for our last interaction. Clearly you wanted to actually have a like a girl talk. You wanted a friend. You wanted someone to reach out. You clearly wanted that, and I kind of like wasn't picking up on that because I only saw you as a villain, which was kind of like a theme of this season, where you gotta look beyond into the person's origin and see that they once were just normal people, and you gotta reach that person because nobody reached their hand out to them in the first place. So it's a weird thing because I find Toga cute because that's what she always want, because she never got that from nobody, not even her parents. That I like, do I have a cute smile? Like it's like and everybody's find it creepy. And it is kind of creepy. It's the way it was animated and drawn. It's like, how can you not see there's some level of creepiness into the drawing? And it's like, you could have drew it to be less sinister, because she still has that like sinister look, but it's cute at the same time. It's a weird combination. I was like, yeah, I can find it cute, but man, you gotta work on that smile. But Uraka tells her, like, look, I'll be there for you. I like if you need blood, I will give you my blood and we can talk. You know, like you think you're weird, I'm weird too. And just like two girls reaching out and being friends with one another because it was just like it's a nice little cute moment where they see like their little image of their little toddler selves, and Uraka put out her arms so her little friend can have some of her blood because she's good and wants to be there for people. So Toga seeing she says she likes not only Deku but Uraka too. That's why she's able to along with Twice because when she steals the blood and the image of somebody who she truly deeply cares about, she can actually then use their ability if they have one. That's why she couldn't do that with anybody else. But when she takes the blood of Uraka and morphs into her, she then does a blood transfusion so she can live, but that would mean she'll probably die. We don't know that yet, but that's what it's going to be the assumption for now. So Toga is pretty much neutralized. Gigantomachia is neutralized. Shonagiri appearing to be neutralized. Spinner is neutralized. Dabi is neutralized. All that's left is Shigaraki and All For One. And we get to see like also Deku's like final ability in his One For All abilities, Gear Shift, which belongs to the second wielder of All For One, where it only when he was alive, he was only able to affect small objects to shoot them out like bullets. But thanks to the stockpile of One For All and again boosted throughout the years, now he can alter pretty much like darn near anything. So he can alter trajectory of anything like himself, like Deku himself in the air, stop it. Like he's are coming like a beeline at you, but then he can just stop and then shift and go in a different alternate direction. And it's supposed to be like a last ditch effort. So now Deku's managed to use all the abilities in his arsenal in an effective way in order to take down Shigaraki, who he's trying to reach that small kid inside, which technically he did, but Shigaraki planned on that. He's subtly, without All For One's notice, starts, keeping his personal young self deep down so that way he can pretty much have the power to just break free of his master's grasp. So now he has regained control of himself. Now we see All Might coming into the fray. Now that all the Twice clones are pretty much dissipated, and of Uraka's boost in power, where she doesn't have to touch everybody in order to get them to float, she can just alter an area of effect, which is kind of dope. Anyway, All Might, knowing that All For One won't hesitate to stop to get at him, so he pretty much got his freaking Batmobile to build up his Bat / Iron Man armor with gadgets and gizmos simulating his students different abilities in order to combat All For One. And it's like an awesome display. It's like, dang, it's kind of smart. It's pretty much like an Iron Man suit, but it kind of looks like Batman in a way. So he's pretty much taking on All For One, and not, I guess, he's not realizing the more effort he's exerting, the younger he's looking. Right now he's looking like in his mid-teens. So knowing that if you don't get to the freaking, the Shigaraki, he will, revert to a point where he's no longer going to exist. So he's pretty much wasting time dealing with All Might. And All Might, without his powers, his suit and armor won't last too long. But I nearly forgot about like not only heroes from other schools in Japan are jumping into the fray to help out, but even villains or former villains are jumping in. Like, I didn't bring this up in the other season, but the gentleman or gentle criminal and his little sidekick, joining into the fray in order to help out, because Deku extended like a hand to them and seeing them more than just criminals and stuff like that. He using his cushion abilities to keep the floating coffin cage from falling into the ground and causing like an utter devastation, while his partner is with like the police hacking into the villain system, that long-haired guy from the Liberation Movement, who eventually got stopped by student heroes from other schools, stopping him, infiltrating his networking system, preventing any kind of hacks from his end of things. But we also see Lady Nagant, who, despite trying to recoup in the hospital, taking her sniper rifle and shooting the hand of Shigaraki to prevent him to utilizing his decay ability to cause massive devastation. Buying Deku even more time. Everybody's pitching in little by little, whittling down these villains and utilizing their skills in conjunction with each other to keep themselves into the fight. Is really cool. So that's pretty much where we are at in this season. So yeah, the hype is real. Man, like I said, I've never seen this. I stayed away from it for a long while until we got to this point where I wanted to talk about it. I had to double check to see. It's like, is this it? It's like, is there like other episodes that I need to see before I, talk about this? But no. They kind of left it on a freaking cliffhanger here. So that we wrap it up on a true final season, season 8. Once that's out and I go through all that, I will do my review of the final season of My Hero Academia. Whew. It took a lot. Like, this is my complete breakdown of everything, and it's like cool moments all around. The animation is just insanely good, man. If I had like any kind of like if I have to choose any kind of weak link into the narrative, I slightly give to the whole anthropomorphic people, as like only slightly, because and then like probably second slightly the whole back and forth with Uraraka and Toga, but only slightly because they serve a purpose. But if I had to choose, it's probably the anthropomorphic people. It's a little bit of a weak link, but beyond that, man, everything was pretty good. The great narration, great dialogue. Just watching everybody working in conjunction with each other so seamlessly. Everything's been great. At least nearly everything. And it's fun to see like other heroes or even former villains step in to help out. It's like, everything's culminating together. Yeah, I enjoyed it. But anyway, I will see you guys in a few minutes with a comic review, which also shouldn't take that long. But leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys thought of season 8 of My Hero Academia, and I will see you all later. Peace.